Israel loves war. Israel broke the ceasefire. Oh my goodness, they're killing so many Palestinians. So what that they killed 2 Israelis? So what that they killed 2 soldiers? Israel's the one who's destroying Gaza. Israel's the one who's pushing back Trump's peace plan. Israel's the one who's breaking the ceasefire time and time again. It's only been like 9 days. Can't the Israelis just get their act together? No, we can't. Because you're all stupid. Sorry, it's uncomfortable to hear, but it's true. You all are falling for ridiculous propaganda, thinking that Israel likes war. Oh, come on, guys. I'm sorry if from your white privileged chair it's a little bit uncomfortable for you that our husbands are at war. Like, it just makes you feel a little bit, I have to see the news again. We're up against something insane. And the reason that this ceasefire was broken was because there wasn't really a ceasefire to begin with. And you know how I know that? Have any of you seen any of the footage of Hamas executing Palestinians the second Israel stopped attacking Hamas? Literally, within hours of Israel saying, okay, we're going to wait for the hostages to come home, Hamas literally turned around and said, screw this. Disarming? We're not disarming. You're all nuts. Why would we disarm? We are going to start executing everybody that we think corroborated. Yes, we'll give back some of the hostages, but not all of them. We know what the peace deal says. The peace deal says that number 1 of Trump's plan doesn't start until all the hostages are home. So let's just make up a lie and pretend that we don't know where some of the hostages are. And whilst we know what stage 1 demands of us, which is to completely disarm, we have no intention of doing that. So why don't we just delay this process a little bit? Hopefully kill some IDF soldiers in the meanwhile, because why not? Yada, yada, yada. Have the world think that Israel broke the ceasefire because we're going to push the button so far. So much. On the first 72 hours, we're supposed to give all the hostages home. We're not going to do that. We're going to delay it for days and days and days and days so that we can keep on executing anybody who stood up against us in Gaza. Literally anybody. We're just going to mass murder them and hurt them and harm them because we don't care. And we're going to pretend that we're trying to find the bodies. Yeah, right. As if that's really what's going on. And we're just going to delay until hopefully all the public pressure will be on Israel to stop the war completely, because people will be like, oh, you've had a ceasefire. Enough's enough. And that way we won't have to actually disarm. You see, I don't know about you, okay? But if you have a prisoner who's released from prison under the terms that he's not allowed to go back to doing anything illegal, and then within about 30 seconds of him being out of prison, he does something illegal, he's saying something pretty clearly to you. What's he saying? That he wants to go back to prison. That he doesn't care about the system and he's not interested in it enough. He might actually be saying something even more. That he thinks he can literally get away with it because he totally mocks and doesn't think that the prison system has enough strength to put him back in prison. Well, that's what's going on with Hamas. That's exactly what is going on right now with Israel. People looking at us be like, oh, Israel, Piers Morgan, for fuck's sake, why do you have to go back to war? It's only been 9 days. Just allow for the ceasefire to continue. None of you have said a freaking word about the Palestinians being executed by Hamas. What does that mean? What does it mean that the Palestinians are being executed by Hamas? It means something very simple. That Hamas have zero intention of giving up their arms, of laying down their weapons, of moving out and allowing for Gaza to be rebuilt. That's what it means. Which means there was no ceasefire to begin with. We weren't obligated to a ceasefire. We were obligated to all the hostages coming home, us pausing the war, and then when the hostages are back, if Hamas don't disarm, we go back to a very intense level of war. As you've seen Trump tweeting, like, we're going to eviscerate very violently Hamas. Those are Trump's words, not mine. And then we will move forward into peace for Gaza. But what actually happened is they gave us back the live hostages because they knew and understood that public pressure would be on that more than on the bodies. But in Israel, they're of the same level of importance, almost exactly. Then they started to play games and drag out the return of the hostages, even returning a Palestinian who wasn't a hostage. At the same time that they're dragging this out, and Israel knows for a fact that they're dragging this out, they start to execute Palestinians, basically saying to the world, look, we are here to stay. We're not going anywhere. Making it very clear that this whole peace plan that its basis is dependent on Hamas disarming is irrelevant. And then when it takes 9 days for Israel to say, okay, enough's enough. They're literally playing games. We're not giving them any more chances. we're going in there. Why? Because 2 Israelis are murdered, 2 IDF soldiers are murdered by Hamas. How did that happen if Hamas are in a ceasefire? How did that happen? Well, then the world's going to turn around and be like, Israel, why are you violating a ceasefire? It's kind of exhausting. It's kind of exhausting seeing these Westerners just be like, yeah, I'm sorry. You're also up against violent terrorism. Your life is also facing an existential threat. That's what's going on here. Hamas are an existential threat to us and to the Palestinians. And I could pretend that I care about the Palestinians in the same level that I care about the Israelis. I do not. I do not care nearly at all. But what I can say is that if we understand that Hamas is seriously the threat, and Palestinians are saying, oh, look, Hamas are executing us the second Israel pulled out, then maybe this whole premise that Israel actually being somewhat involved and holding up the line of war in protection of the Gazans, of the Palestinians, maybe it actually had some truth to it. And maybe Hamas really are the bad guys. And maybe it's not Israel, it's just a warmongering, horrible country that wants the demise of everybody around us. But rather, we are at the forefront of fighting for freedom and democracy and for Western values and for truth and for love and for family and for everything that's good. And when we see radical jihadi terrorists who, in the name of their religion and directly to Trump and all these other countries who have spent so much money and resources in trying to put together this peace summit, and Trump who's standing there, they're willing to completely publicly humiliate him, be like, his peace plan, it's irrelevant to us. We're not disarming. We're taking control. And now we're hearing that there's even discussions that maybe Hamas will be in somewhat control of Gaza in the future. That's probably never going to happen under Israel. But everybody has to just kind of clarify their facts for a second. Israel is not out there just breaking ceasefires. Hamas are pushing every line, and Israel has been patient and patient and patient. Now, after we decided to go in there, cause some damage, remind them who's actually in control, Trump was like, okay, pause this, stop. And so we pulled out, and we've taken a bit of a break, and we've renewed a ceasefire, but there is no ceasefire against people who are saying outright that they're not interested in a ceasefire. So there isn't really one. It's just Israel is being told to sit down quietly so that Trump can try and figure out what to do. There are still a whole bunch of hostages in Gaza. Still a whole bunch of them. I'll remind you that we exchanged thousands of prisoners. Thousands for these hostages to come home. The price of that is enormous, and we have to pay that. And we're dealing with that, and it's uncomfortable. But we're not sitting around here being like, yay, it's finally over. Let's go back to peace. Our enemy is still out there regrouping every second whilst we're being told to sit quietly and just handle the fact that the West doesn't like it. Now, I think that Trump's going to 100% give us the green light. Give us that green light and say, go ahead, go obliterate Hamas. Because it's going to become very clear to everybody that these terrorists are not interested in laying down their weapons. That was always just a false premise. But up until that point, to have the world pretending that we're the ones breaking the ceasefire is just disgusting. Like, purely and simply. So don't fall for it. Israel didn't break no ceasefire. Hamas weren't even in a ceasefire to begin with. They were just and are continuing to plan how they can keep on destroying Israel. They've self-proclaimed it. They've announced it publicly. They're not giving up arms. They have no interest in that. And we just all have to sit and wait quietly till the West kind of accepts us so that we can then go in and finally finish the job now that they don't hold this enormous leverage over us. Thank you for your attention to this matter.